Greeting. Hi, hello. Welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Fire Lotus the Witch. Today we are going to talk about a few experiences that I've had while working my practice. Sorry if you hear any background noise. As you can tell, I am not at the office. I am out and about. So this was the second circle that I've ever had, starting out with the magical experiences. And without getting into too much detail, because I'll go off in a completely different direction, we moved into this place, and when we moved there, the school system, it was too late into the last semester, so I could not enroll. So I got the entire spring, like from February all the way until like fucking August of that year, I was completely free of school. So I spent about every single day, especially in the spring, outside finding the specific location for my second circle. I used the pendulum. It took me like 2 weeks to clear everything out. It was a huge circle. And there was a 4 to 5 foot hole in the center of it that I used to, as a fire pit. You know, I don't want to catch the woods on fire. So I'm doing this particular ritual, and it was a semi-big ritual, and again, I'm Wiccan. The reason I keep saying that is because in Wiccan traditions, some of them, when you are about to close out a circle, all that energy that you raise up in the circle, which is one of the main points of a circle, you can either ground it or release it back into the universe or send it back to the god or goddess. And there are specific ways you do it. With a female, or with the goddess format, you're holding your hands up in the air, like think of the scene from The Craft. One day I'm going to be able to actually insert shit into my videos, but until then, just imagine that scene. And then it's basically like hugging yourself if you want to dedicate it to the god. I primarily only worked with goddesses back then, and my stepbrother is on the outside of, literally directly outside of this circle, and I had a 2-step stool, like the plastic ones you can get from Dollar General. So I go through the processes of opening up the circle. I had a fire going, and I have this thing where I can intuitively sense the vibrations of plants around me, especially if I'm doing this in a ritualistic way. And I would intuitively pick, depending on the vibrational pick. So I also, periodically through this ritual, I was giving offerings of herb bundles that I picked myself. And it was at the very last point I had stepped up onto the stool, and I stepped up onto the stool. For some reason, my brain is blanking right now. I stepped up into the stool, and I said my saying that I was saying, and then I dropped the herbs into the fire. And for some reason, instead of stepping back down, in that moment, I decided to release all of the energy that I had built up. And in that exact moment is when I started doing something that I did not fully understand, because in fact, I found out a few years later, I was drawing down the moon. For anybody who does not know what drawing down the moon is, it is basically where you take in the goddess. Technically what they did in The Craft when they were invoking Minnow, yeah, I basically invoked the goddess and invited her in. I was like 13 to 14. I think it was 13 at this point. Physical body, that's what we mean when we say there are certain spells or certain types of magic that are advanced. We're not saying that to gatekeep, y'all. We're saying that because depending on what you're doing, especially in ritualistic format, if your vessel, if your own physical body, there's a limit. And once you reach that limit, you can severely hurt yourself. You can make yourself sick. I know people that have been hospitalized, nosebleeds, all different types of shit, all right? Not to mention, you get the weird ritual hungover, where it's literally almost like you're hungover, but mixed with like sick, and it's just because your body has went through so much energy, and or it's channeled so much energy. So I dropped the herbs, and I released it in the goddess format, and all of a sudden, it was like everything around me just stopped. And as this is happening, I'm starting to see these black little speckles take over my eyesight, literally like fully take it over. And take in mind, it was a full moon, And where I put my circle at, as long as there were no clouds in the sky, the moon aligned exactly up with it. Um, and I'm standing there and I release it and I'm starting to see this black. I had no idea what was coming. And all of a sudden, when the black finally got right here and like on both eyes, and I completely basically blacked out, I was soaring through the sky. Like, I literally going up, and then all of a sudden I was in space. I was connected to everything. I was connected to the goddess, the god, the earth. It was the most incredible, intense feeling I've ever experienced in my life, right? Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, what is literally physically happening to me outside of what I'm experiencing? I'm glad you asked. I literally passed the fuck out. But the crazy thing was it's how I fell and the position that I fell in doesn't make sense to me. My stepbrother, who's on the outside of the circle, who's watching this, is thinking that I'm just putting on a show. I was not putting on a show. When I came back, like woke up, it literally felt like somebody had picked me up and like body slammed my ass off a 5-story building. Everything hurt. I was completely dazed. I was confused. I had no idea where I was. I had no idea what the fuck just happened. It took me like 20 minutes to come fully back. I landed on the ground so hard, 2 of the sticks that I landed on left indentions or imprints in my back. That is how fucking hard I hit the ground. And it was the most surrealist, I can't even put it into words, experience I'd ever had up that point. And I didn't know what I had did. I would not learn that until I was in my early 20s with one of my roommates who, and there's a weird story behind that, but he was a practitioner of a coven, and I explained this to him, and he goes, you were drawing in the moon. Basically, I was drawing down the goddess. The problem was I was way too young to withstand that amount of energy coursing through me, and I literally passed the fuck out. That is the reason we tell seedlings that you need to be careful with what you're doing, because that's not something that just a random dabbler goes to do. Trust me, you will get hurt. But still to this day, that is one of the most profound experiences I've ever had. Now here's the second experience I've ever had. And the book series that I'm mentioning in this is by Christopher Penczak, and it is the Temple of Witchcraft series. There are, I think, 8 total. It's inner, outer. So basically, the first book teaches you how to work mentally, all in your mind. The second book teaches you how to take what you just learned and apply that to the actual physical world. That's also the book where you'll learn the techniques of using tools, grounding, shielding, and things like that. The third book is a very potent book, specifically due to a meditation, but it is called the Temple of Witchcraft. The Temple of Witchcraft, Shamanic Witchcraft. It goes into the shadow self and shamanic and multiple other topics. It's an amazing book. In that particular book, take in mind, I use the term shadow work. A lot of people think that that's the Carl Jung. No. In my eyes, it's not. The way that they describe it in that book, it's more along the lines of everything you do not like about yourself and or you hate about yourself. That would be your shadow work. Not necessarily, let's go relive my trauma. So there's this meditation where you meet your shadow self, because how do you get over something? How do you heal from something? You face it head on. That is the point of this meditation. You are to face your shadow person head on and basically make amends and become whole and heal yourself. So now at this point in my life, I'm in a different location and I'm living with the person I was with then. We were both openly practicing together. We were kind of teaching one another. And he's actually who introduced me to Christopher Penczak, the book series. So we decided that we were going to do this meditation. Now here's something that I did not know before the meditation. This particular person asked for a specific sign that I would experience. That way he could be verified. It was like his own verification that, all of this was real. And I did not know that until after all about what I'm about to tell you happened, okay? Not to mention, we're in North Alabama, like up in the foothills of the Appalachians. There's what I experienced, I shouldn't have been able to experience. Anyways, it's also important to note that the backyard of the apartments that I was staying at was the city cemetery, and that bitch was huge. The only thing that was kind of really separated the actual apartment complex and the cemetery was just like this hill. That was it. No fence, nothing like that. So I go outside, take in mind it is dead. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. So it's dead in the middle. I think it's either December or January. It was cold as fuck. So I decided that I was going to do this first. So I go outside and I'm sitting on the, right next to the back door on this like little concrete, like little porch thing, right? And directly in front of me, I can see the graves in the graveyard. So I get into the meditative state, and in the book, if I'm not mistaken, in the book, there's an actual walkthrough too. So I'm out there, I'm getting, deep within the meditation. Now here's one experience, and I don't care what anybody says, I've talked about this before. For some reason, I started chanting light as a feather, stiff as a board. I have no idea why. It worked though, for a split fucking second, a millisecond of a second. I could no longer feel the concrete slab, the cold concrete slab up under me. I felt air. It was literally like if somebody were to like have put fans up under me. The second that I realized that I could not actually feel the cold ass concrete up under me, and like my brain realized what I was doing, it stopped. Drove me crazy. Cool experience though. Levitation, or what, I don't really know what it was, but I know it was not an out of body experience, and it wasn't astral projection because I could still feel my physical body. So that happened, and I'm like processing that while also going deeper within this meditation. And I got really deep, and I was actually about to start the full-on like meeting with my shadow self, and what I experienced very well could have been that. I think I have my own theory behind what it was. Anyways, something pulled me out of the meditation, and I don't mean like somebody walked up to me or said my name, or no. Energetically pulled me out. Like my body went on high alert that something was off. It's almost like in the movies where you see, or even if you've been hunting or something, and you can tell when a predator is like, when danger is next to your body. Yeah, spidey tinsling, what the fuck, spider senses basically. And I come full out of the meditation, like wide-eyed, fully aware, and that's when I look up towards the cemetery, and there's this one particular grave that is slightly overcast but lit up by one of the street lights. And what do I see staring back at me? A person-ish. He's crouched down, like if I were to, crouch fully down with your hands between your legs, like where your toes are at. And it's staring at me, and I say humanish because it looked like a human, but at the same time, it had no features. It was just solid black, with this weird aura as an outline. And we were connecting, full on connecting. And it scared the shit out of me to the point where for the very first time in my entire life, I literally felt like the petrifying fear where my entire body told me to get up and run, and I just could not move. My entire body locked. I turned to stone. Every hair on my body is standing straight up. I have chills rolling through me, and it scared the shit out of me, but not like I'm in danger, is going to kill me, as much as like randomly imagining come across a dragon or an ancient land spirit. It was just old. That's the only way that I can describe it. It was old. And this continues for what felt like forever, but I'm pretty sure it was probably like maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And as soon as I break loose from the like fight or flight, more like paralyzing fear, I literally get up and walk inside. Now, right before that happened, and right before that connection was lost, I heard wolves howl. That was the part that I didn't know at that point in time. The reason that was so profound was because my partner at that time asked the goddess for me to hear or see a wolf while I was doing my meditation. And again, North Alabama doesn't have wolves. And no, it was not a coyote. I've grown up in the country. I know what they sound like. This sounded like 3 to 4 wolves howling off in the distance. And fucking insane, right? How could it get more insaner? We go to sleep that night. I told my partner that and that. At the point in time, I told him that, right? But his mother was not told. We did not tell her anything. We go to sleep like normal. We get woke up at like 6 a.m. that morning with her beating on our door. So we're freaking out. We're like, what the fuck is going on? What happened? She fell asleep on the couch in the living room and got woke up at like 2 to 3 a.m. with what sounded like something was trying to get through the back door. The apartments that we lived at, sorry for the beeping, the apartments that we lived at, they had like a security door that was like not chain linked, but it was metal. Again, sorry about the noise. But something was trying to get in. She obviously did not open the door or anything like that. So we go out to investigate, and lo and behold, there's scratch marks on the metal frame door and the screen that goes over the window. I don't necessarily know if that was still connected to the experience that I had, but it scared the shit out of me. So yeah, those are 2 of the most pronouncing phenomenon stories. And I'm going to go with one more, because this one was more recent, and then I'll do the 4th of July one in another video. Also, I can't remember if I asked at the beginning of this. I've shot this multiple times. If you've made it to this point in the video, would you like to see a few videos of paranormal experiences that I've had as well? But anyways, so we are here in Florida, and I'm with the partner that I'm with now. And we had just moved to the property that we live on now. And we had a bonfire set up outside in the yard. And there were 2 other people there that night that wanted to see and possibly be in the middle of a circle. So I have this thing where if I go to any new land and I'm going to do like any type of magical things, I will introduce myself and basically tell them, hey, you know, look, spirits, hi, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I intend to do. I've lit the fire, and I started to prep for the circle. My partner and the 2 other friends that we had were walking out of the house. As they get to the circle, I literally about gasp, and I said, look up. As they turn to look up, there is a giant ball of light about this fucking big, like this big around, that comes flying out of the tree, our neighbor's tree, flies directly in front of us and over our property, and then disappears within the next tree. Like as it got off of our property, it just completely disappeared. It was solid. It made no sound, and it gave off its own light. I'm 98% sure that it was like the land spirits acknowledging that we were there. Everybody else, though, it's completely still, and my partner has witnessed and experienced multiple things since us being together, and then him by himself, he's experienced things too. Never experienced anything like that since. But there's a weird connection with that story and the 4th of July story, that I should be posting sometime after this video as well. So, yeah, those are some of the experiences that I've had. Now, why are these experiences so important to witches? You're going to go through multiple stages in your spiritual and magical journey where you will question every single decision you have ever made in your life. You will question if you have just wasted so many years. You will question if you have completely lost your marbles and you were just completely spiraling down the crazy train. Those experiences, though, when life just gets to you and you kind of start to lose faith in things, those experiences, which everybody has, but they're always different, those are the experiences that we kind of lean back on when we need to help rediscover and respark our spark. But yeah, those are the experiences that I love sharing with people because there's no explanation for them. And I do not believe in the word coincidence. I believe a lot of the things that people call coincidences are some type of a divine energy, if you will, because I'm not ready to have the conversation of fate and destiny and things like that because I don't know where I stand on it. But I do know that there are some things where it's not a coincidence. Things were meant to happen, whether that was divine or through the spirit world. But yeah, those are just some of the many, many experiences that I've had. I would also love, if you'd like to, if you have a YouTube page and you make a video, tag me in it, and or TikTok, and or let me know in the comments what your experiences are, or write into me. I would love to get a couple of them up and possibly read them on my podcast. And yes, I have a podcast, if you did not know. Fire Lotus the Witch. You can find it on Spotify, Applecast, Anchor, all of that. So, yeah. I hope you liked this video, and as always, if you made it to the end, drop 3 random emojis. Talk to y'all later.